Welcome to the Accounting Technology Lab, sponsored by CPA Practice Advisor, with your hosts, Randy Johnston and Brian Tankersley.
Welcome to the Accounting Technology Lab. I'm Randy Johnston with my co-host, Brian Tankersley. You know that we have a penchant for advisory services in CPA firms, and there's not very many tools in the market that actually do this. We've talked about other tools in our podcast that can support advisory work, but we wanted to make you aware of a product called AIDER, AIDER, which is coming to the US market from New Zealand. The founder and CEO, Brendan Roberts, we had the good fortune of meeting face to face at the AICPA's Accelerator program this year because they had a component of AI inside their platform. Now, AIDER itself has some very interesting pricing and features for advisory support. So I thought, Brian, we might start off by just talking a little bit of feature set in the advisory world on this particular platform, and then we'll look at some of the other things. So, Brian, what would you like our listeners to know about?
So just kind of conceptually, AIDER is designed to provide kind of a centralized dashboard that shows you how you're doing against key metrics inside your clients. Okay, so you can see this major dashboard, this dashboard they have on their web page that they're directly showing here. You can see it actually shows 30 clients in here. The idea here is that when you think about the mantra that we've had for years and years in mid-market is we want to have real-time data without real-time work. And so the idea here is that this gathers all data from all these different sources, aggregates it together, and then puts it in a single dashboard in here. It also lets you set limits so that things can be, a red, yellow, green, and you can just look at the dashboard very quickly and kind of see what you have going on. And again, the idea behind this is that is to again make it where you can just act as opposed to having to gather the information and then to summarize it and so forth.
Yeah. So, Brian, the thinking here is that particularly in the down under in New Zealand, Australia, Xero is far more dominant than they are here in the US. Of course, Xero started out of Auckland, so that makes some sense. AIDER integrated with that platform. They are expanding into other platforms. But the tool, if you are already using Xero in your client base, works beautifully. Now, they do have period close tools, and they are trying to work on the automated annual, monthly reporting. They're doing reconciliations in the platform. They, of course, are producing P&L and balance sheets and doing reconciliations. So they're doing a lot of the administrative piece, and they are doing the reporting, as you point out. Now, like the accountant dashboards in these various products, they do give you an aggregated view of all the client's data. So the traffic light system that they're using in that one financial dashboard can let you quickly see, oh, X client has a problem with cash flow or tax compliance or profitability or data compliance. And you can use the alerted information to go get the details behind that. Now, as I think most people know, cash flow is always a bit of a bugger for small businesses. It's at times a problem for a lot of different size businesses. But the platform also produces accurate historical and then relatively good estimated go forward cash flow reports. So as you pointed out, Brian, close to real time information, really profitability being shown almost continuously, and some very good profit and loss indicators here. So the connection to Xero on the platform is quick. You basically connect it to Xero, and in a few minutes, AIDER will analyze the data and bring that client's information into your dashboard. So, again, I happen to be a big a fan of advisory services, and so many of our practices have expanded into client accounting services without necessarily going the extra bridge to being a proactive advisor. So, are there other things that you might note in this advisory realm, Brian?
Well, I think the challenge that we've all got is that with the shortage of people in the accounting space, there is a need to use greater automation, and this automates a lot of the information. Again, it automates a lot of the data flows, so that hopefully you can have again less work required to roll up, so you can be an advisor. The other thing that we historically have not wired for in accounting firms and is this real time infrastructure for data to again, or kind of as Accenture calls it, the data supply chain, where you set it up where a lot of the automation handles the transactions behind the scenes. Aider is an attempt at trying to put that together, so that you can have that real time information. Because when you climb the value chain into advisory, and somebody's got something on fire, you've got to know it, point it out, and then take corrective action. And so that means that traditional historical after the fact write up financial reporting and other reporting is just not going to be adequate to live in the modern world where we're doing things in real time.
So, one of the things I think I learned from Brendan in speaking with him directly is many of the metrics are basically they've learned over time and they pre-analyze it with the client data. So you wind up with pre-analyzed data from all your various zero clients. We think over time it'll be QuickBooks and other platforms. But the target here is smaller businesses. Brian, earlier you talked about the mid-market place, and you can do a little more work. You can afford to do more work there. But I think you can let Aider do the analysis in a matter of minutes. I will just mention that the visual insights that the platform has, I think, are good. We've talked about close tools in the mid-market, but this is kind of a simplified close too, and it really works as an early warning system. So the AI features behind it are interesting, but now let's turn our attention for a moment to pricing, because the current pricing, which may change over time in the US market, is to allow up to 50 clients to be attached for $500 a month, which is $5,100 a year. They do have multiple tiers. That's all they refer to them as, up to 50, 51 to 150, 150 to 300, 301 to 500, 501 to 1,000. And so basically you can buy a license which allows you to handle up to X number of clients. Now, as it turns out, they are doing the implementation with your firm, but they do charge for implementation and onboarding services currently, which starts at about $3,000 and then goes up from there. I believe that you can get pretty good information off their website. Do recognize that this is kind of early. We know that Aider is expanding their footprint here in the US, that the CEO has made multiple trips to multiple events, and I have seen him multiple times so far this year. And they are quite aware of their competitors. So, Brian, any parting thoughts on the Aider platform?
I just think it's interesting that the Kiwis are coming. It seems like Sweet Files is out of New Zealand, and they've put their CTO over here. We have the CEO of Aider coming over here. So if you talk to somebody and they have kind of an Aussie-like accent, it's entirely likely that they're an expat over here from some of the Kiwi startups trying to figure out how to take these things that work well in New Zealand and bring them over to the U.S. And I think that's important because the banking system in New Zealand has been significantly more automated for decades than what we have in this country. And so this inherent automation, I think, is something that is needed very much in accounting firms. And again, if you can get to real time data without real time work, I think it makes your advisory a lot easier to pull off.
Yeah. Well, and at the risk of somewhat distracting, you do not have very many choices at the low end of the market for advisory. Now, we still believe that the complete advisory solution out of the UK is the best overall management platform for advisory. And we are quite aware of the competitors of For Impact Data or Sobi Analytics for advisory. But this is not financial reporting, friends. This is advisory guidance tools, and that is quite different. Likewise, I don't consider this an outsourced CFO tool. There's other tools like VFD that do that type of work. But the tools that are pure advisory plays that are not financial reporting tools are few and far between. And so I want you to understand that ADER is one of those advisory tools that's interesting enough that we thought you should be aware of it early in its existence here in the US market. So it is such a pleasure to have you along on a technology lab. We will be with you again in the near future.
Thank you for sharing your time with us. We'll be back next Saturday with a new episode of the Technology Lab from CPA Practice Advisor. Have a great week.